Hi, everyone. I'm Steve Varga, and today I'll be taking you through the May 26, 2022 release of DB Precision, version 2022.22.5.26. If you have any questions about what we go over during this video, please call 860-540-3690 or email us at support@PensionSoft.com. Okay, let's get started. The first item that we wanted to bring to your attention today was the fact that we dramatically decreased load times when opening a plan document, and also for running calculations for plans with a large number of formula-derived items. So for any plan that takes longer than a few seconds to load at this moment, you will see about 4 times faster plan load speeds across your plan documents. And for any batch processes or calculations that take a noticeable amount of time to calculate, you should see about 2 times faster speeds on calculations and exports, and that could be even faster if you have an even longer running process. Another thing that we really want to highlight is the idea that we added dynamic snapshots to person worksheets that can then be shown on the portal. So for PensionSoft customers with a portal license, we've added support for dynamically created snapshots that run nightly to update participant status display as well as to be referenced in person worksheets for display of snapshot calculated items. What this means is that we have the ability now in a person worksheet. I open a person worksheet here. On the bottom right of the screen, you'll see that if you have any items from the valuation in your person worksheet, you have a portal license, and you will now see that the dynamic choice is located here on the right. Previously, you had the ability for valuation item display to say that you wanted to display a fixed valuation snapshot date that you had run, or that you wanted to display the latest snapshot that a user had created. But now you'll be able to actually have the system display essentially up to the day data for your portal clients to be able to review on the portal. So what the system will do is it will use some cores that are available on your portal controller machine, and it will run snapshots for you overnight so that you have updated data and values in your person worksheet for portal display. What this looks like in your valuation snapshots display is that you'll see a snapshot. In this case, it was run overnight, 12:05 for me, and it has a little global icon to indicate that it was a snapshot run by the controller. I can click into this and I can view the inputs that were used by the controller, so I can recreate that snapshot if I need to. We've also added the ability to, we've added more functionality to the expand and collapse all buttons in the Home tab. So previously there were some folders or items that would not expand if you're using the expand all button. But if I want to expand all my items, including items in a folder, I can click on the expand all button top of the screen, and all the items within that branch will expand. For person worksheets, again, we've extended the ability to show amounts as monthly on the portal to include benefit-related valuation details. So we're always trying to make sure that any items that are shown on the person worksheet, if they toggle between annual and monthly, we do try to make sure that the checkbox for display amounts as monthly is enabled and can be checked. And this will, so we've added this for items such as the level income option for the valuation display. For work tracker request emails, we've added a new option to hide or show comments entered in the original request on the confirmation email that can be sent. So go to work track tasks. I go to this item. You'll now see that you have the ability to uncheck this checkbox here that says include comments in confirmation email in the middle of the screen. By default, that checkbox is checked. Previously, comments would be included, but now you have the ability to opt out of that by unchecking that box. Moving over to our plan document, we've added a series of functions. In this case, the next few items I'm going to show you are all kind of used to value a life insurance component of an annuity for converting optional forms of payment. So it's unlikely that any of our clients are going to be utilizing these functions right away, but they are items that we've added, and if someone has a creative way of using them, feel free. We've added a get mort rate function, which determines mortality rates at specified ages. If I go do my get mort rate, you have the ability to specify a formula function as so. The get serve fraction function, which allows you to determine probability of survival between ages. So again, another formula function where you have an annuity factor in quotes, and then a couple other items specified. You can always, as always with any formula function, you can hover over the item to figure out what inputs need to be used for that function. We also added a do loop function, which allows for the creation of a loop to return a final value, accumulated value, or loop count. So what that function might look like is where I'm just, there are a lot of different optional inputs on this screen. So similar to how you might create a loop in a macro or in any programming that you're doing, we now allow for you to run a loop in DB Precision. Okay, so unrelated to what I just mentioned, we made a change to our get bend pay set function. So the function get bend pay set is something we added fairly recently that allows for you to return in a formula derived item what a person's benefit payment set value would be based off of data inputs. We've added the accrued benefit itself as a minimum for plans with formula-based late retirement benefits when determining amounts through this function. So what that means is, let's say for some reason, let's say you had in your late section an accrued benefit with an accrued benefit calculated at normal retirement date with actuarial increases, and let's say that benefit was smaller than your accrued benefit calculated at the calculation date. The formula function previously was not returning the accrued benefit without increases, it was just returning the accrued benefit with the increases, so now it takes the greater of the two. So you would see a change there if you were using this function and you had set up your formulas that way. Right, so moving on to average compensation, we've added a couple items here. We've added a new averaging unit by week 27. So instead of the normal 26 biweekly periods creating 1 year, we now have the ability to indicate that a biweekly period is, that a year should be constituted of 27 biweekly periods per a client request. Additionally, in the advanced screen, we allow now to indicate that you want to allow for a 1-day averaging period, which previously was only allowed if an average included a rate of pay. Most of our clients use earnings, which are reported over time, as opposed to a rate of pay, which is just an annual or monthly or biweekly rate of pay. So now, essentially what you'd see is the ability for the system to have an average comp period that actually had the same start and stop date. Previously, we were disallowing those kinds of periods. Moving on to accounts. We've now included a new parameter to apply period rounding rules when the middle toggle is selected in interest crediting. So right now I have this middle toggle of the 3 on the right-hand side that deposits and balances accrue interest until the end of each period, and interim deposits accrue the following fraction of the period. And we've added checkbox right here that I've just unchecked and checked. And what this does is it allows for you to use this second radio button in conjunction with the period rounding settings that we've always had available to our clients. Previously, they were kind of separated out, and the period rounding was actually grayed out if you had selected this option. So now this is enabled so you can utilize them together. We've also made a slight change to account interest accumulation. We'd found that if you had indicated that you were using some sort of rounding like next highest coinciding month, that you might see an unexpected interest calculation. So what we've done is we've now indicated that we apply period rounding to interest accumulation if the final period does not end at the beginning or end of the month when this kind of rounding is specified. So it would be unlikely you see any changes, but if you did see any changes, it would be because the calculation was not referencing this rounding type properly. For our actuarial equivalence definitions, if you've indicated in your AEQ definition that you're using floating 417E3 mortality, we now reflect the new 2023 mortality table. So if you are running a calculation that would require the 2023 table, using this new version of DB Precision would reflect that mortality table. Now moving to export definitions. We've made a change so that a person no longer has to be deemed eligible in a plan in order to run an informational export. So informational exports, if you select this type for your export type, this removes any of the requirements for vesting or for retirement eligibility, and it just allows you to export on the portal without any restriction to a person aside from a filter, which we'll get to in a second. This is used so that, let's say you have a way of displaying data or whatever it may be to, or a beneficiary election form or something that you allow a person to run as a calculation without requiring them to be eligible for a retirement benefit using the data inputs. Now we've removed the requirement that was coming through that was requiring a person to be eligible for a plan. So let's say someone is part-time, you've given them portal access. They're not technically eligible for the plan, but you still want them to be able to run this particular calculation. You can do so now. Additionally, recently, we added the ability to check this box that says hide if filter formula requirements are not met. The idea here was that on the portal, if someone does not meet the requirements of an export filter formula, which is located here, if someone didn't meet those, instead of just giving them a warning saying that they don't meet the requirements, we now completely hide that export for that person. And even if every single export definition, a person doesn't meet the filter requirements, they actually don't see the calculation button at all on their home screen. This can be helpful if you have retirees on the portal, and if your filter formula is something like what we have set up here, then the retirees would not even see the option to calculate retirement benefits. That being said, what we found was if you check this box, we now require that this filter formula be filled out for this checkbox to actually do anything. If you have this checkbox here checked, but you have no filter formula, then essentially this checkbox will be ignored by the controller. Moving into export rows, we've added the ability to have a new export format for phone numbers. So if I click into a phone number, that's the portal name, sorry. The phone number right here. Previously, you just had two options for phone number display. Now you have a third using periods to differentiate between parts of the phone number. We also added the ability to export portal settings, such as portal name, the portal email, phone, and company code. So To actually see these, you'd go down all the way down to the item type of portal settings, and then you have the ability to show those items here. Those are all going to be formatted as however they're formatted on the portal right now. So there is no further differentiating between the formats for those items. Moving on to person creation. Let's say I have a retiree and I need to create a beneficiary off of that person's record. As you know, you can add a person with the original pensioner open. The system will ask you if you want to create a beneficiary using that person as the basis. You say yes. So it fills in the beneficiary information from the John Doe record, creates a Jane Doe for you. If you click the green checkbox, creates this person for you. We've added now any reported amounts that are deemed a group code, contract code, or location code based off of the reported amount type. Those will be brought over to the new person. So for example, John Doe has a group code of police. Beneficiary will also have a group code of police. For masked edit controls, we pick something where the copy and paste is not working between something like a phone number to a phone number or a social security number to a social security number. Essentially, all that just means is by clicking to a field in which, like a phone number, where there's, there are parentheses and dashes in the field, previously copying and pasting that was not working. And now we fix this so that if you have parentheses in the original, then pasting that in, they have no problem with doing that. So now you have the ability to paste those items if you feel the need to do so. We've added additional detail to the Excel extract for minimum distribution report. So if I go to my valuation tab, go to other reports, the minimum distributions, and I click on view results in Excel, I now see additional address information for this listing that was not there previously, as well as some other information on the right of the screen. On the portal settings, we've added the ability to hide the suspension of benefits notice on the basic information tab of person data on the portal. So if I go to the top right of the screen, I'll see right now that I'm hiding the suspension of benefits notice from the portal display. In the access tab, we added the ability to specify a password day's expiration on the portal. So if I go here, you have a new tab, or sorry, a new field for the days before a password expires. The most that you can set this to is 365 days. If you put any more in there, the system will automatically cap that for you. So there's a number of days in here, and the system will automatically require someone to reset their password at that point. On the work track detail screen, we now allow archived documents to be viewed directly from the screen. So let's say I'm opening up a person in work track. I go to their archive. I can now view an item if the item had any images located in it. And then lastly, the work track report adds a task definition name to the report. And we also have the ability to display task definition description if you'd like. So one thing I want to show you is if you go to your work track report, if I have a sponsor open or a plan open, these bottom two checkboxes are disabled and they're checked automatically. And this is because there's no need when you're just dealing with one sponsor to uncheck these boxes here. There's no reason to remove that information there. But the reason that we enable those checkboxes when you have no sponsor open and you're running this work track report for your entire sponsor, the reason we uncheck that is because opting into these display items would result in slightly longer run times. So we just by default don't show that information because we figured you don't want to get the system bogged down. But if you do need to show this information, you can opt into it. And when you run it, you're going to get a warning message saying, do you want to run this? You know, it might take a little longer, and you can say yes, and it'll run the report for you. So that's it for today's video. If you have any questions about what you've seen today, please call 860-540-3690 or email us at support@pensionsoft.com. All right, thanks.